folks. Guess we don't need that music there. Go ahead and turn that off. How's it going? Great to have you here this morning. Our second live stream this semester, so looking forward. Eliza, I keep messing up your name. Eliza, how are you doing? Great to see ya. Great to see ya. We've got folks chiming in, so this is fantastic. So yeah, I look forward to all of these. I'm one of those lucky son of a guns who really enjoys his job. And so every time we have a new lecture come up, I'm pretty excited to get on in there. So, yeah, let's get on in there. Now, don't let the title dissuade you. Origins of a business transaction. Guys, let me tell you something. I'm just going to say, you think you know what a business transaction is, but I propose that we don't really. Here's the thing. You're like, how can I not understand what a business transaction is? I've been involved in business transactions my whole life. Hell, you are the result of a business transaction. So it's everywhere. Well, yeah, but now that's part of the problem. Since it's everywhere, we don't often really think about it. And so this is what we are going to do. We are going to go ahead and start with a question. What is value? Now, as it says here, on one hand, this is a stupidly, ridiculously easy question. And you're like, holy hell, I signed up for a college course so I can answer questions like these. Hey, Tyler. On the other hand, you're going to find that it's actually much more nuanced and complicated than you might think. So we are going to start getting some light bulbs going on here. Where's my light bulbs? There they are. We're going to start getting some light bulbs going here. And let's explore this question. Go ahead and throw in the comments. I'm going to put on a 2-minute timer. I need to put some music with this 2-minute timer. I'll do that for next time. Anyway, throw up in the chat there what you think value is. All right, let's give it a whirl. All right, let's take a look at this. And yeah, we're going to get some light bulbs going here. That's the way we like it. So Eliza says value is what makes something of worth, but some things can be more valuable, depending on different people's beliefs. Good. We're going to come back to that. Very nice. Anna says the worth of something, whether it be emotional worth, quality, personal, or other forms of agreed upon worth. Nice. Tyler, the worth of an item to an individual. Okay. All three of you hit upon a really important aspect of value, and that is this. First, it's all perception. It is all perception, okay? No object, no service intrinsically has value. It all depends on the perception of the individual, okay? You might think, well, gold has value no matter what. No, to some people, they would have no care for gold, no need for gold. And so it is all perception. I mean, all. It is all perception. It is not intrinsically part of the item or the service, okay? And all three of you remarked on that, okay? Very good. So next thing about value, though, is that it is really transient. It is never the same, ever. All right, so let me give you an example. I'm hungry, and so I buy burgers and fries and a drink at Five Guys, and that's $10, which is crazy. But anyway, I'm hungry, so I buy a burger at Five Guys. Okay, I am willing to pay $10 barely to get this because I'm hungry, right? I'm hungry. All right. Well, now, after I eat that big monstrosity, what if they came to me and said, would you like to buy another burger, fries, and drink for another $10? I'd say, no, I'm not. Well, now, you were willing to pay $10 for it 20 minutes ago. Why aren't you willing to pay $10 for it now? Because it's not worth $10 to me. I am no longer hungry. My need has been sated. And so the value of that burger is now nothing. Well, if they say, oh, well, how about if we sell it to you for $5 and you can take it home? I don't want to. Burgers and fries don't keep in the fridge, right? So I'll give you another example of the transience of value, okay? Right now, you awesome folks are commenting in the chat and so forth, and you're in the class. Now, you're doing this because you want points. You want points. That's the currency of a college degree. For better or for worse, that's the currency. You do assignments, you participate in the chat, I give you points. That's the way it works. Come the day after this semester ends, those points are suddenly worthless. They have no value to you. So let's say that I contact you 9 months from now and say, hey, do me a favor. I want you to write this paper for me. You're going to be like, why? And I'll say, I'll give you points. And you're going to be like, dude, I'm not in your class. Go to hell. Okay? So you see how transient value is. So we are talking about perception and transience. Okay. There's one more part about value, though, that we want to bring up. And that is, you guys all said worth. All right. So Eliza, you said worth, and and Anna said worth, and Tyler, you all said worth. Worth, I would define as perceived benefit, meaning I perceive that I can benefit from this item, right? So my bottle here, it holds water. All right. If you're mesophilo, I apologize for that. It holds water. And so this is worth something to me because I'm sitting here lecturing and so on and so forth. I need water once in a while. So I'm willing to pay for it. On the other hand, there's all kinds of things in here, every number of things that I don't need because I don't perceive a benefit to me. What is the benefit of having this thing on my desk? I have limited space. What's the benefit of having it? Okay, so that's value. All right, now please, please, please bear that in mind. Jot down real quick. Perceived and transient and perceived benefit to the individual. Okay, so now we're going to ask another question. Because you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you a story. Because we're going to talk about what is a business transaction. All right? And to do this, I'm going to tell you a story about an egg. Don't worry, it's a good story. It's true. All this good stuff. Okay. So, we moved into our home probably, I don't know, 22, 23 years ago, something like that. And at one point, our neighbors moved in. Wonderful, wonderful family. They're absolutely awesome. Father is Josh and wife is Cheryl Lynn, and they have these gorgeous little daughters, so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm sitting in my living room, and I get this knock. I'm not going to do that every time. I get a knock at the door, right? Okay, so I go to the door, and there's a cute little adorable girl there. It's one of their daughters. And she says, my mother wants to know if we can borrow an egg. Of course you can borrow an egg. Here's an egg. Take off, kid. Okay, so they got an egg. Now, come on. We all know that when you say borrow an egg from a neighbor, it means, do you have an egg we can use? You bet. A few days later, I get this knock at the door. I can do that, except it's going to drive my dogs nuts. And there's Bella, little Bella again. And she has an egg in her hand. And she says, thank you for letting us borrow your egg. Here's your egg. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. I totally forgot about the egg. I don't care about the egg. All right. So, and this goes on. Can we borrow an egg? Sure. Here's an egg. A few days later, here's your egg back. And I'm kind of like, this is kind of, okay, whatever, fine. Well, then one day I get a knock at the door. And Bella is standing there with a great big plate of cookies. And she says, my mother wanted to thank you for letting us borrow eggs. And so here's a plate of cookies. All right. I was not expecting this. All right. And this went on for years. So here's the question. All right. Here's the question. Now we're not going to go back to that slide yet. So we'll go to our 2-minute. Is this a business transaction? Borrowing an egg, returning an egg, getting a plate of cookies in return. Now, if you say yes, it's a business transaction, let me know why you think it's a business transaction. If you say no, it's not a business transaction, let me know why you think it's not a business transaction. Okay? So let's go ahead and hit our 2 minutes again. Okay, let's come on back. So let's explore this. Is this a business transaction? So now, Tyler, and we're going to get some nice little cool light bulbs here. Tyler says, yes, since one party is gaining from the transaction, very good. I will contest that both parties are gaining, which makes it a really cool transaction. We'll talk about that. Anna says, yes and no. On one hand, goods are being exchanged back and forth repeatedly, but on the other hand, it was an agreed upon concept that the egg would end up being returned to the original owner. Now that's fascinating. So I think what Anna is suggesting here is for it to be a bona fide business transaction, there needs to be agreed upon parameters or whatever, agreed upon expectations. There we go. Let's use that word. There need to be agreed upon expectations for this to be a bona fide business transaction. I like that observation. I've never run into that one before. Very good. Eliza says, I want to say yes, because although you don't expect anything in return, you were giving something that was perceived as valuable to your neighbor. In turn, they gave you something of, what you got, right? Absolutely. And we got our first, right there. We got our first point. Okay. So here's the thing. I believe, and this is me, we're having a discussion, folks. I'm not sitting here going, this is why I think, right? Or this is why I'm right. I believe it is a business transaction. Now, I want to call out, Anna brings up a really good point. There were no agreed upon expectations around the transaction beforehand. And so that kind of gives it a little bit of a taint, if you will. But that aside, both of us are getting value. So let's look at what, and furthermore, there's a lot of sophisticated value going on here. This might just be a little thing between two neighbors, but there's sophisticated stuff going on. Show you what I mean. Let's talk about Cheryl Lynn, first of all, borrowing the egg. So what does she get out of this? Well, she gets an egg. Right? She gets to borrow an egg. But now she gets more out of it. All right. So you have limited space in your refrigerator, and you have limited money, and you have limited time. So if she does not have space in her refrigerator for enough eggs, or if she does not have enough money to go to the store or enough time, then she needs to find another way of getting what she needs without investing space, time, or money. Now, you might think that this is a ridiculous idea, but this is called just-in-time inventory, okay? This is it was a standard practice before the pandemic. We won't go into that. But the whole idea is, listen, I don't want to clog up my refrigerator with things I don't need right away. I don't want to spend money on stuff that I don't need right away. I want to hang on to my opportunity costs. And I certainly don't want to make a special trip to the store just for one egg. And so if I just send my daughter, one door over, I can get an egg with no investment of time, no investment of space, and no investment of money. That's smart business, okay? I get something out of the transaction as well. I get two things. One is, let's state the obvious. I get the plate of cookies. Now, as Anna says, it wasn't agreed upon, but I still get that value, right? That's called interest. This basically, each time she borrowed an egg, I lose the opportunity to use that egg. This is why when we borrow money from someone, we pay interest or some other form of remuneration, right? We pay interest because in taking the money, that person no longer has the opportunity to spend the money, and so we need to compensate them for that loss. That's interest. Well, she compensated me for the onerous loss of an egg with a plate of cookies. So I benefit in that way. I also benefit in goodwill. At the end of the day, business transactions are human transactions. And we develop trust and loyalty and fidelity and dependence on one another through business transactions. We're going to talk much more about the dependence that we have upon one another in future lectures, but it's really the case. We need one another. And so by engaging in this exchange, I get some goodwill. So I know if I ever need Josh or someone to come on over and help me move a piano, which I did once, he's going to say yes because I am the provider of eggs. Okay? All right. So, very good, guys. Very good. So now let's keep going on. Let's go ahead and turn to our reading a little bit. Now, something I want to point out about the readings in this course. All right, I need to come up close. This is not a history class. This is not a history class. I do not care about names. I do not care about dates. I do not care about locations. I don't care about any of that. All right? Now, if you've looked ahead in the readings, you might be saying, what do you mean it's not a history class? I've seen the readings. We're starting with Plato and Aristotle, and then we just kind of go chronologically through the ages. And that looks like a history class. Quacks like a duck, walks like a duck. Well, I get you, but it's really not. Remember, we are exploring the foundations, the fundamentals of business thought, the foundations of these things. And it just so happens that business thought started a long time ago and has evolved over time. So it just makes sense to explore these things chronologically. So don't get hung up on the history aspect. In every single lecture, I promise I will bring the concepts discussed, including with Sumerians and nomads, into the modern world. Okay? All right. So with that, the reading talked about how, well, it basically says, hey, there's two kinds of folks. I mean, you get what I'm saying. It's the story it tells. It says, all right, the first thing we've got are settled folk. Settled folk had their textiles and their pottery and made many desirable things. All right? That's great. That's great. That's what settled folks do. And then we had ourselves our nomads. The nomads would bring precious stones and things of metal and leather. All right. So they would trade back and forth and so forth. Well, now, here's where the idea of value comes in. All right? Settled folk are making pottery. Why are they making pottery? Because they've got clay all over the place. They freaking live on clay. It's the ground. All right? So they've got themselves clay. And they go, that's really cool. We can form clay into a bowl and we can fire it because we don't move around. We can build a big-ass kiln here and we can fire this clay bowl and we've got ourselves a bowl. And we have bowls and vases and all this sort of stuff, right? Just like I have my bottles here, all right? How many bottles do I need? Well, one bottle is pretty handy. Two, kind of handy. Keep one in my bag and so forth. Three, maybe one downstairs, one up here. Great. Maybe 2 or 3, 4 bottles. Fantastic. I don't need 1,856 bottles. I don't need them. They're not valuable to me. I have no space for them. Not only are they not valuable, they are a liability. Remember, value is transient. 1 is valuable, 2 is valuable, 3 is getting a little out there. Anything after that is a pain in the ass. Okay. But now, they have all this clay. So what are they going to do with all this clay that they make into bowls and vases and so forth? Because it's worthless to them, they need to find somebody for whom it is not worthless. Same with all their textiles and so forth. Well, the nomads have a different problem. They're like, listen, we wander around and we pick up shells. That's all we do. We get shells from all over the world, right? Shells are everywhere on the beach. It's just ridiculous how many shells they have. But they pick them up because they know that somebody else wants these shells, just as in the nomads know that somebody wants clay pots. But they can only carry so many shells because they're nomads, right? You know, they have to carry this crap. And so at a certain point, they really can't carry much more. All right. So these two groups get together. And with, the nomads delivered to the Sumerians, precious stones, metal, and leather, so they can actually manufacture more cooler products. More, cooler. I'm not using it incorrectly. So they can manufacture a lot of cool stuff because they find with the shells they can grind them up and make a glaze out of them, and that's awesome. And then they can make necklaces and jewelry out of the shells, and that shows a status symbol because to the Sumerians the shells are pretty darn awesome. In the meantime, the the nomads, well, they can take the garments and bags and clay vases and so forth, and this allows them to carry more goods and to travel farther because they don't have to worry about weather and so forth as much because they have the right clothing and the right supplies and so forth. So from a business standpoint, the nomads have, the Sumerians, the settled folk, they have increased manufacturing capability, and the nomads have increased inventory and access to new markets. Okay, now guys, come back to center. Something freaking magical just happened, and I mean magical, okay? What just happened in terms of value creation? Now, in case you weren't with us, real quick, remember, the Sumerians are sitting on what is essentially useless clay. The nomads have access to what is essentially useless shells. They trade, they do a business transaction, and with the shells, the settled folk can make cooler pottery, and with the pottery, the nomads can increase their inventory and their range in terms of where they access new markets. A magic trick just happened. Tell me what it is. Let's go ahead and hit 2 minutes and tell me what just happened in terms of value creation. Okay, let's take a look at this. Now, while you finish typing in your responses and so forth, and I talk through this, one of you do me a favor and Google, how much did Bill Gates pay for DOS? DOS. I'll explain what this is all about soon, but Bill Gates and Microsoft bought DOS, which then became MS-DOS, Microsoft DOS. Somebody Google and find out how much he paid for it. It'll make sense here in a moment. Okay, so something magical happened. Here's what happened. Oh, by the way, Anna says, based on the need of the community, consumers, as well as the access to resources needed for needs, and even the wants. Yes. So this is good. Anna, yes. So a transaction happens when one group needs something, but has a surplus of something they don't need, and the other group needs something, but has a surplus of something they don't need. And so they trade, right? I don't need this, but you do? Here you go. And the other person says, great, and I don't need this, but you do, so let's trade, okay? Fantastic. That is at the heart of a transaction, all right? I give of my surplus to your deficit, and you give of your surplus to my deficit. All right. Let's keep. Oh, and we've got some cool buttons to push here. So very good. Anna said, okay, 50,000. We're going to come back to that. Thank you very much. Eliza, different groups of people were able to find where others perceived value. I like the way you put that. We're going to come back to that. How do you perceive value, and can I provide? Can I fulfill that need or want that you have, because I understand where you perceive value? So Tyler says, business transaction, both traded their excess goods, very good, to gain what they didn't have. This would lead to economic growth and ability to create goods. Okay, and Tyler also found 50,000. Good. Okay, that brings us our next one. Right, fantastic. Yeah, they're a little weird. Okay, so here's what happened. You guys get it, but here's what is magical. We have created out of thin air value. Now, how did this happen? It's because we took two things that to each group was valueless, clay and shells. I don't need clay. Well, I sure as hell don't need any more shells. All we did was trade, and now the folks with the shells are like, I can make some cool ass stuff with these shells. And the folks who got the clay, the pots and so forth, says, I can do some cool ass stuff with these pots. All right? Value was just created in the transaction. That is what a legitimate transaction does. It creates value for both parties. You would not buy something if you did not perceive that that thing which you are buying is worth more than the money that you're giving for it. In the same way, you wouldn't sell something if you did not perceive that the money is worth more than what you're giving up. And yet you get the money or you get the thing and you can create value with it. Okay? I'm talking at a camera right now. You see that right there? Your camera. All right, so I'm talking at a camera. I am creating value with that camera. If this camera was still sitting in the warehouse, it's not creating value. As a matter of fact, it's taking value away. Okay? Same thing. You're giving me comments here and so forth. That creates value for me. And I give you points, and that's value for you. But points are meaningless to me. Okay, so now let's come back to Bill Gates and buying DOS, right? $50,000. So Microsoft started as MS-DOS, or they started as DOS. There was no Windows or Microsoft Suite or Word or anything like it. It was just an operating system. And Bill Gates didn't invent DOS. He found somebody else who invented DOS, and he said, we'd like to buy that. And the guy said, sure. I mean, it's just some crappy ass code that I wrote that works as a background operating system. It's not providing any value to me. And so Bill Gates says, well, here's $50,000. And he says, here's DOS. Now, I'm sure the guy took the $50,000 and did some awesome stuff with it. Probably not as awesome as what Bill Gates did with DOS. Okay, built a whole world, industry around it. But, that was the trade. But now here's the kicker. And guys, let's talk. Okay? The difference is Bill Gates recognized the value of that program and had the means to exploit it more than the person who wrote it. I'm contending. I'm asserting. Okay, that's my posit. You need to understand the value of your resources. You need to understand what you have, what you can do, what you can offer, because other people will want to buy of your value. And if you don't understand your value and don't understand what you can contribute to others, then you will get outbid. Others will pay you and give you less than you're worth because they understand your value better than you do. This is what Bill Gates, and this is not a slam against Bill Gates. This is smart business. But if I recognize the value of something more than the person who's selling it, I can get a good price for me. Okay? So I know that's kind of a weird thing, but understanding the nature of value is what makes you an autonomous person in the economy. If you don't understand the nature of value and how it is created, you are not working autonomously. You are working for somebody else to create value for them. I'm just saying. Okay. Rant over. All right, let's keep going. Now, they created a lot of value. I mean, a lot of value. And they lived a pretty darn prosperous life. That, we tend to look back on the old days and go, oh my gosh, they didn't even have the internet, right? No. Life was pretty sweet and luxurious for a lot of reasons. So this creation of value through transaction, it created a lot of wealth. But now here's the thing. When you create wealth, other people want it. Okay, so let's talk about that. First, let's go to the reading. We're going to read something that happened, history, but then we're going to say this isn't history, all right? After the Roman annexation of Sicily, they basically took Sicily. They looked at Sicily and said, damn, you rich. You now belong to us. After the Roman annexation of Sicily, another process arose. Sicily was treated as conquered prey. It was declared an estate of the Roman people. Its rich soil and industrious population was exploited to make Rome rich. The patricians, I don't know, I can't read. Reading's hard. And the more influential among the plebeians secured the major share of that wealth. Okay, here's my question. Where do we see this today? And more importantly, what we just saw, was not value creation, it was value extraction. Now, we're going to do the 2-minute timer thing again, so go ahead and think about this, and feel free to Google it, feel free to use AI and so forth to think through this. But what is value extraction? First, what is value extraction? And can you give me a modern example of value extraction? Okay, so let's do this. And don't worry, I have lots of great examples too. It'll be fun. All right. Value extraction, what is it? Give me an example. We'll see in 2 minutes. Okay, let's come on back. So as you're typing in your answers and so forth, I know 2 minutes isn't really long enough to think about it, explore it, and type it out. So I get it, but I don't want to do more than 2 minutes because it just feels like the energy just disappears. Okay, so as you're typing in your stuff and so forth, let me give you an example of value extraction. All right. So, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is doing a whole big, she did her Eras concert, I think it was. I didn't go to Eras. But I would have liked to. As a matter of fact, a lot of people would have really liked to have gone to the Eras concert. But they couldn't, or at least not at the prices that Ticketmaster and Live Nation and all that was selling tickets for. That's a different form of value extraction, but we'll leave that one alone for a moment. So people would get online. You know how it is. If you've ever done this, you know that tickets are coming up here in just a moment, and so you get online and you're all ready to buy the tickets the moment they come open. Okay? The moment they come open. And the moment they come open, you hit buy and they say, we're sold out. And you're like, what the hell? They have not been up for more than 2.3 milliseconds and they're sold out. Well, Tyler knows where this is going. So these scalpers, what they do is they write these bots. I'm not making any of this up, folks. You can Google this. It's a very well documented practice. So what they'll do is they write these bots. By the way, Nike shoes. A lot of people do this with Nike arbitrage. This is all called online arbitrage. They'll write these bots that will go in and buy up as many tickets as they can immediately. And I hate to tell you, but a bot is a hell of a lot faster than a person. And so they buy up all these tickets. All right. And then they turn around and sell them for 500% markup or whatever. So if the ticket was $200, it's now $1,000, 5-time markup. I don't know. I don't do math, right? So a $200 ticket is now a $1,000 ticket. Now, who gets the value there? Well, the scalpers, but they did not create any value. They did not create value. Taylor Swift created the value, and the venue creates the value, and the distributor of the tickets creates the value, and the roadies create the value. They all created the value. And these scalpers are just like, I'd like some of that and just take it. Okay? So let's come over here and we'll get some light bulbs, scalpers. So there, Tyler says, the capturing of value created by others. We see this today in many forms: tech companies, healthcare, housing, exploitation of workers with companies purchasing others and so forth. Yes, capturing the value created by others. This is value extraction. Tyler goes on to say this is why many sites are implementing the "Are you a robot?" CAPTCHA, right? Yes, it is. And it goes on to say capturing value created by others to the benefit of a company is a form. Yes, this is a form of value extraction. Absolutely. Now, I just demonstrated, or I just gave you the story of an egregious example, but value extraction is actually a regular part of a lot of businesses. We'll come back to what Tyler said here. Purchase of Utah Hockey Club. I didn't know that. I don't know how. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not. It's not. I just don't know as much about how that went down, although I am curious. I'll have to send me a link or something to help me understand that one. But I want to come back to what you said, Tyler, at the beginning, where you said tech companies, healthcare, housing, and so on and so forth. Let's take housing, for example. There are many, many, many reasons why we're in a housing crisis. Many reasons. So the one I'm about to share right now, this is not pivotal, right? This is not the cornerstone. Nevertheless, there are a lot of what do they call the institutional investors? Institutional investors. I forget what the groups are called and so forth. But what they do is they say, hey, you know what? Housing is big right now, and we can get passive income through rentals. And so they'll buy up all the housing that's available and just, rent it out and so forth. And that takes housing off of the market for those who want to buy. This is a form of value extraction. When we go back to Ticketmaster and so forth, the low-key form of value extraction is, well, tell you what, guys. So in March, my wife and I are going to go to Vegas and we're going to go see Pitbull. All right? Go see Pitbull. Since I'm an old man and I'm seeing Pitbull, that means that by definition, he is no longer relevant as a musician. Hate to tell you, Pitbull. Anyway, $160 a ticket. How much do you think a $160 ticket cost? Well, $220, of course. Well, now, why does a $160 ticket cost $220? Because of hidden fees, transaction fee, convenience fee, this fee, that fee, buy me a new Frenchie dog fee, all kinds of hidden fees. This is value extraction. Okay. Tyler, yeah. Fees. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Oh, and there's our next one. Fantastic. You know that movie, Okay, so that is what is going on all over the place. So this is an ancient history. This is happening right now. Well, now we won't go through reading this one and so forth, but here's what it's coming down to: is at a certain point, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about slaves entering the system. So what's early world? Everything ran on slavery. I don't want to be cavalier about this. I'm just saying all the work was done by slavery. All right? The slave system had spread to most industries, to every sort of work that can be done by gangs, mines and metallurgical operations, the rowing of galleys, road making, big building operations were all largely slave occupations, and almost all domestic service was performed by slaves. Okay. But now here's where it's going to get modern, all right? Check this out. At a certain point, this occurred. There were poor freemen and there were freedmen in the cities and upon the countryside working for themselves or even working for wages. So we are talking about poor people or people who were slaves who are now freed. They are out there trying to find work and they are working for wages. Now we're talking about money, okay? They were artisans, supervisors, and so forth, workers of a new money-paid class working in competition with slave labor. Slave workers, okay? Here's the question I want to ask you. Let's say that you are a member, and by the way, you are. This will be clear here in a moment. But let's say that you're a member of this new money-paid class, and you're out looking for work because you need money. Sound familiar? And so you're out looking for work, but there's also slaves out there who work for nothing. And so let's say, for example, that you're a bricklayer, all right? I'm a bricklayer. And so you go up to somebody who's building a building and you say, hey, I'm a bricklayer. It'll cost you $1 a day to hire me, all right? So are you interested? And at the same time, the slave walks up and says, I'm a slave, I work for free. So now, how are you going to compete with somebody who works for free? All right, this is a real question. How do you compete with somebody who works for free, such as a slave? So let's first answer that question, and then we'll bring it into the modern world. This is our last 2-minute run. All right, let's do it. Okay, fantastic. Let's jump right in. So I'm gonna get the little light bulbs ready. So Eliza says, I feel like you can't. And you know what? That could feel like your first initial, but you can and you have to. We're going to see this pretty soon. Now, Tyler throws out there quality of work, efficiency, expertise. So this is kind of the first thing you can look at is, you know what, you get what you pay for, right? And so if you're not paying anything, odds are you're not going to get a lot of quality work. Whereas if you are paying somebody for their expertise, for their competence, well, now you're getting something more than just simply laying the bricks, right? So yes, absolutely. Anna goes on to say, with skills and or previous experience, if possible, offer the resources that you can bring into the scenario, offer to bring bricks, play to your strengths, talk about how much you can lift, etc. I really like this. So one of the things that Anna's doing is saying, listen, I don't just lay bricks. I am a full service operation. I can source the bricks for you. I have relationships with the brick makers, the bakers, the kilns, and so on and so forth. I know where to source the mortar, the best mortar you can get. I have my own tools and I really know how to use these tools. Furthermore, I can supervise the laying of the bricks in this section. So with me, you don't just get a bricklayer, you get a full service operation. And I really like that. Let's see, we also have with Mara, by offering a better quality of work, by emphasizing the value of skills and providing commitment, I stick with the job until it's done because my name is attached to this job. I really like that as well. That's excellent. Now, I say this is freaking real. It's not outlandish. Folks, this is why the writers and the actors went on strike last year, is because of AI. AI can write all the scripts from here on out. They're not great scripts, but who are we kidding? You think everything that is produced these days is great? Come on, it's all just content. Keep the engine running, feed the monster. Hollywood is more than happy to rely on AI to a tremendous degree to do scripts. AI can also replace the actors to a tremendous degree. I won't go into detail, but yes, it can replace actors. It can replace graphic artists and so forth. This is a system, AI, that will work for free and replace writers and actors and all those sort of stuff. Now, just to give you a real world example that affects me, okay? Yeah. So I make YouTube videos, all right? And I get these videos closed captioned, right? Closed captioned there at the bottom. Well, I pay for a service to do that. And the service offers 2 levels. They say, hey, if you want yourself, let's go ahead and do this. Let's get ourselves a laser pointer here. Yeah, laser pointer. If you want human beings to do the transcription, there we go. If you want human beings to do the transcription, it's $1.50 per minute of the video. On the other hand, if you want AI to do it, it's 25 cents a minute. Now, I've used both. Obviously, I've been doing this for years, so most of my transcriptions are human. And the AI is not as good. But it's not horrible. and it's getting better every day. And so I've got a whole series of Beyond Time Management that I'm publishing. That's going to be, 3 or 4 hours worth of video. And you know what? It's real tempting to say, just automate it. So already AI is replacing transcriptionists. So it's important that you also understand, your value. Yeah, we're good. We're just going to do one more. And understand what you can bring to the table. And guys, I maintain that this is exactly why you are here right now. Right now, if you had to compete in the marketplace, I'm with Eliza. You really don't have much you can compete with yet. This is why the jobs that you've had thus far, and I'm talking in grand terms, I don't know what the jobs are that you've had thus far. But for the most part, they're manual labor. For the most part, you follow really rigid systems. And for the most part, you're just a cog in a machine that somebody else has created, and they just haven't figured out how to automate this part. And so they put a human being in there. And you're like, I'm not going to be able to earn much money doing this. But if you can increase your skill set, understand your value, understand the holistic services that you provide, and really tout those, well, now you can compete. Okay? So this is important, because if you don't do it, somebody else will, and they'll outcompete you. And I don't want that. I want you guys to rock. Okay? Here's the last question I'm going to play with. And it's where we're going to kind of end things and so forth. Because here's the deal, guys. And I'll take away my laser pointer now, because now that's all annoying. I don't know how to take it away anymore. Oh, well. We talked about value. We talked about competing in a marketplace. This is also that you can build wealth. But now, folks, just as in value is perceived, potential benefit, and transient, there's a whole lot more to wealth than meets the eye. I want to explore, as we wrap up here, one last question. What is wealth to you? The only question I won't accept is money, because money is not wealth. And that's not even a philosophical thing. Money isn't wealth. You need to be in tune with your inner fox, man. No. Money is a means to wealth. What does it mean to live a wealthy life? What is wealth to you? So let's do one more 2-minute little break here. Explore what is wealth to you, and then we'll use this as a way to wrap things up. All right? Here we go. 2 minutes. All righty, let's do this. Here we go. So, Anna, to be able to buy what you want and need, but also to be working so much that you can't, not to be working so much that you can't enjoy the fun things that you buy. Totally love it. Love it. Eliza, wealth, I feel like, has a similar definition to value. It's something someone perceives that they have in abundance. I like it. And then Tyler, am I getting, my clicks? Yes, I am. Wealth to me is my total knowledge, skills, and all the relationships I build to get something done for minimal cost. I really like that. I like it a lot. Liza, wealth to me is being able to take care of my family's needs and spend time with them. Oh, isn't that awesome? Yes. I fully agree. Here's what I want to kind of end with in terms of our discussion on wealth, right? It is really, advice from old people is useless. I did not really learn that until the end of last year. Old people like me think that we're all so smart and we have all these insights and we kind of have this understanding in the world and so forth. And to be honest, we do. But we learned it through experience. And there are just some things you have to experience to learn. So when I tell you something, it's going to be one of those things that you'll have to experience, right? By the way, Mara says, wealth is more than just money. It includes anything that provides the same sense of value or fulfillment. For example, wealth can be happiness and contentment with life. I totally agree with that one. And I'll come back to this. So here's my old man rant. You really need to understand what wealth means for you, because there are no end to the social pressures for you to work and produce and do and all this sort of stuff. And most of the time, it's going to be people using your work and your labor and your time for their benefit. And that's fine if you understand what you are striving toward, what wealth means to you. The problem becomes when you start chasing a form of wealth that is not congruent with who you are. So I spent many years in the corporate sector, many years in the corporate sector. And I worked middle management in some of the biggest tech firms and so forth that there are. And I thought wealth was a certain thing. I thought wealth was your salary. I thought wealth was your job title. I thought wealth was your level of influence and power in an organization. I thought wealth was all kinds of the corporate things, the things that corporations tell you it is, and society, for that matter. Until one time I went on a sabbatical, left for a while, and really thought about things, and I started to understand that the things that I'd been chasing for 25 or 30 years as wealth were not what I thought wealth was. And that's when I made the decision to do a career transition and transition to being a professor. Because wealth for me, and like with Mara says, happiness and contentment with life, wealth for me is stillness, peace, tranquility, autonomy, free time to work on things I want to do, experiment, explore, dabble, putter. This is wealth to me. And so long as I make enough to pay the bills and can take the time to learn to use OBS as a teaching tool and so forth, then I'm totally happy. So learn what wealth means to you, because the sooner you have a good understanding of it, the better you can direct all your life's efforts toward achieving that definition of wealth. Okay. Hey, you know what? You guys did absolutely tremendous today. We're going to go ahead and just take you up to the 15 and yeah, oh, I've got the wrong buttons here and so forth, but I'll update the buttons. You did great. Thank you. Thank you very much. A tremendous, tremendous live stream. We are all set. If you have any questions or want to discuss anything, I'm going to hang out here for a moment. If you'd prefer to move over to Zoom, we can do that. Otherwise, do me a favor, send me an email, let me know that you were here so we can get you some points. And yeah, go off and have a fantastic week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Go off and make some trouble, and we'll see you again soon. And I need to fix those buttons because I want to do the cool one. Here, let me show you what it can do if I have this right. Yeah, check it out. I didn't have that button ready. Hey, thanks a lot, Tyler. We'll see ya. We'll see you, Mara. I got to remember how to pronounce your name. I know that XIO is something actually really simple, and I can't remember. I'll look at your video. We'll see you, Anna. Let's see. So Tyler, also was the 16-point animation Joust inspired thing. It wasn't Joust. So this one, this is from a movie called Wizards. It's a Ralph Bakshi movie, and it's a weird animated movie, but it's kind of a cult classic. So that's what that's from. Or are you talking about a different animation? Because you said 16-point. You might be talking about a different one. No, that was the one. Yeah, Wizards. There. Ralph Bakshi, and that character's name is Peace. I actually have a video here. If you're still there, give me one moment here. I'm going to put a link in there that kind of talks about this. So I got to go to YouTube here, and I'm going to go to Rattling Around the Garage. Hang in there. And I'm going to, here's view poll. Here's the video I'm going to share. I will copy. Okay, so, copy. Oh, paste. Okay, so if you're curious to learn just a little bit more about Wizards, Tyler, use that link. It's another YouTube channel I have, and it'll give you a little bit of insights into Wizards. Let me know what you think. I actually have the DVD. My wife won't watch it, so I watch it every once in a while on my own. All right. Well, I see folks dropping off and the chat has slowed down, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.